and just stop the conflict. She said, but then when I'm gone, I can't do that. She said, but at this time, I want them to bond back together. Two of her sons were in the military. One worked in Los Angeles, so they had all did this. And she said, when I was young, the only way I could get them all together, we used to bake. And I would cook meals and stuff, and I would make them. She said, so all my boys know how to cook. They all know how to keep house. She said, I made sure that was something they did. So when she passed, the two boys that she told me were going to be arguing, they were arguing, walking in the door. I said, boy, you knew your kid. And so when we sat down, they were, visibly tense. You could feel it just because each one was determined who's going to be in charge, who's going to run this thing. And I said, what day and time? He said, what? What day and time? I said, it's Monday, so I'm thinking maybe Saturdays. He said, man, don't we have to go and pick caskets and all this stuff? And this is the casket your mom picked. By the time I said that, her best friend walked in with her dress, and I heard that she needs to be dressed. And these letters are for each one of you. Who's this? Who's not? To pass them out. I went over everything financially with them, so they knew what was going on. But I said, this is what mom's main goal was, is these letters. And in these letters, she wrote individual letters to each one of them. She said, give them 20 minutes or so and come back. When I came back, it wasn't dry in the room. And the reason is she said, in each envelope, it was a recipe: lemon meringue pie, German chocolate. Yes. And so what she wanted them to do is each day, it said Monday, your recipe. So they were to get together. She said, I don't want them running around town, picking flowers, picking my clothes, planning funerals, going over. She said, that takes away. I don't get them together that often. And I saw the son, he was home off leave about 2 years ago at Walmart. It's the funniest place. He said, hey man, I remember you. So I said, how you doing? He said, man, you know what? That changed our whole family. He said, me and my brother got into it about 2 years ago over something minuscule. My sister said, pull your letter out and hung the phone up. Pre-planning allows you to do that. It changes the whole dynamic of a death to where you can focus on the living than about what you lost. The hard part about this, though, is sometimes starting a conversation. I didn't want to think about my grandparents leaving and think of them as superheroes. They're always going to be here. But our parents get older, we get older, and it's a natural progression. It's going to happen. But sometimes we live in this fairy tale world that it's never going to happen. And then when it does, it's, and we're trying to avoid that. So we have to start the conversation. Okay?
I feel as if everyone would want to be remembered a certain way, and it's very difficult to even think about how you want to be remembered. But if we ask them, how would you like to be remembered? What do you want to tell your children? What would you want them to know about how much you love them, about how much they touched your life, and how much they filled your life full of joy every single day?
We were able to have a more open discussion about what they're really feeling and what they really want. They had a couple children, and we could start talking more about what we could do to help them in the ceremonies, to make them be included in it.
After the process is over with, what I've gotten is, oh, that wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be, or you made that easy.
We have people come in all the time and say, oh, we had the best time pre-arranging our funeral. It was so much fun. We really enjoyed it, and we're really glad that we took care of it.
Personally, I found it was such an easy experience for myself, and actually it was a happy experience for me.
There's a lot of laughter. There's stories being shared. There's just a whole different mindset. They're more free because they're not dealing with that loss right up front.
The greatest gift that a child can give back to a parent, or even a spouse to another spouse, is having that conversation.
like basically that says just start the conversation, either with the funeral professional, your family, your friends, your spouse, especially. One day I ride motorcycles. So one day I got off my bike and something told me I need to have that conversation with my wife. I ain't gonna tell you what happened, but I told her I need to have that conversation. And I said, if something happened to me, what would you do? We have a funeral. What kind of funeral? We do that. Well, I don't want that. What? Even with our own spouses, it's difficult to think about losing them. But you have to have those conversations, everybody. There's different ways. Each person is an individual, and your spouse knows, and the best way to make it easier on them is to draw from the positive things of your relationship in that time of need. And what I mean is when you're emotional and you can't think of that trip y'all took to Hawaii, when you have those memories and that story you want to tell about how y'all played, those type of things that get fuzzy at that time. Ahead of time, you can do that and make those the focus of your service. And that gives instructions for us as funeral providers. Hey, this is where they want to go. If I have a child that comes in and says, oh, my mom wants to do that, and I know that she wants a celebration, she wants music, she wants this, she wants you to celebrate, not be sad. And I have to say, I can move him to here. But if I don't know, we tend to wallow on this side because that's the status. That's what everybody does. And so that's what celebrations of life are starting to become different. It's not a funeral anymore in our eyes. It's just celebrate the life, not the death. But when I get to that next section, it's about my way. How do you want your services to be? Me, some people were surprised. I want to have a service and be cremated afterwards. I don't visit grave sites that much, but I have a daughter that already told me she wants to travel the world. So I'm gonna bet on that she's gonna travel the world. So she can carry me with her. You know what I'm saying? There we go. Over here, she's over living in France. That's just personal. But you have that way of being personal and expressing your wishes. One of my other best friends knows if he's still alive, take a little bit of my ashes, get on 35, go about 100 and something, and let me out the back. People say, that's crazy, but hey, that's what I want. Some people want to be scattered on the river and the beach, and it's whatever you want. But what is your way?
I think the biggest benefit is that the customer who comes in to prearrange their funeral gets to decide and select what they want for a funeral.
The value in pre-planning, I see, is that it allows one to make their own decisions. Oftentimes what happens, the family is not only struggling with what to do, but also the family is struggling over, Diane wants this, Diane would want this, Diane would want that. But what this does is serve to resolve all those questions so they might move forward.
It was very important for her to choose because when she had to make the choice for my father, she always wondered if that's what he would have wanted.
When we get to the end of our life, we must want to tie all the little loose pieces together too, and I think it's comforting to people to know that they've taken care of it.
I would tell them that it has given me a sense of comfort, that they should do it because it does relieve the burden, not just with respect to the family, but it really does help you feel good about knowing that your plans are in order.
Another main focus about doing it your way is that you control the financial aspect of it. A lot of times funeral directors get a bad rap of trying to run up the price. But at my family, we try to show you what's most economical for you. That $3,000 casket, in my mind, doesn't make sense. It's going in the ground for way longer than it's going to be above ground. I'm willing to show you something that's very nice, that's more affordable, that's going to serve the same purpose, and let's spend some money on some flowers or put it in a bank account for the grandbabies or something, but don't just put it in the ground. The flowers, and a lot of times we ask somebody 5, 10 years from now, hey, what color was grandma's casket?
No.
Oh, man. Ooh, they may know a general color, but all those different things that add up to make it more expensive, they don't remember those things. Also, prearrangement is a gift to your family. It's showing your children and everybody that you're okay with what happened. I handled it ahead of time. I know this was gonna come. You guys should be fine with it. I'm fine with it. I went ahead and had a family over a month ago. Their grandparents and parents had done their stuff over 40 years ago. And it was in a binder. And everybody to the grandchild knew where that binder was. So when they passed, we just gotta get to the binder. It's over here. And when they came in, it had everything in it. For 40 years, the casket wasn't even made anymore. They had to substitute the casket. It was a different casket, but the children knew. And so we knew there's a family that have talked through the family. And it was a whole different situation. They celebrated. They understood grandma was 97 years old. She's lived a wonderful life. Let's celebrate the moments in those 97 years, the dash, not the dates, the dash. And it teaches you, like you said, the gift to your children.
Survivors may not really truly recognize the importance of that gift that's being given to them, possibly until years in the future.
The greatest gift that a child can give their parents or a spouse can give to another spouse, again, is prearranging in the discussion of, beginning discussion of prearranging. And I think it was her final gift to my dad to relieve the burden that he would have been going through trying to schedule and set up everything.
The most unselfish gift that someone can give to their family is to plan in advance. It's a gift of pure love. It's a gift of considerate behavior. It's a considerate gift forever to hold dear, to know that mom and dad took care of everything in the way that they would want to see it be handled.
Because what you're saying to your loved one is, I love you so much that I don't want you to go through this, that I want to relieve some of this burden, some of the tension and stress, and this is what I can do for you.
Mother gave us a great gift by, planning hers, paying for it. Not that we wouldn't have been happy to pay for it, but we didn't have to. So it really was a gift she gave us.
Probably the last best gift you can give your children is a prearranged funeral.
I consider prearranging a gift of love. I truly believe it is a gift of love.
Before I go, has anyone here pre-planned funeral services or done any pre-planning at the time?
Well, I wouldn't say like, the way that you have it on here, but I found this document on Google, and it was just what my family should know about me. So I printed it off, and it just has, like what my name is, where I want to be buried, who I want to do who I want to do my eulogy, and all of that. So I kind of started it, I guess you can say. So, but here I see now I really have to work harder.
That's the first step, and that's what this is here. It's a guide to funeral service planning. And the first step is we have to get all the data that we would need to do your death certificate. Sometimes parents outlive their children, unfortunately. So then grandchildren or even great-grandchildren sometimes are planning the service, and they don't know great-grandmother's maiden name.
Right.
They don't know what state they were born or any of that. So first step is we get none of that. We get all the information ahead of time, and that's the first step. Some people say, and I've had people that I've walked through 2, 3 different meetings with to get this done. hey, I can go this far and I'm good. I'll see you later. They come back again. So the first step is we get the information, because that's one thing I don't want to have to burden your loved one with, is a bunch of questions and things. There's very much that's going to change about where you were born, date of birth, and things like that. Who your brothers and sisters are. Now, some of them, they may predecease you and things like that. But we can adjust that, of course. But it's always good for me to have that. I would also get information of who to contact, emergency numbers. Sometimes you have a family friend that you rather me contact first that may know your children a little bit better, or anything like that. It's just things information that we would use. Lastly,
I have a question. Do you ever share this electronically?
you have a what?
Is it possible to share this electronically?
I have an app that I can send you at the ad need. And so what happens is we collect the email address or the phone number, and I can send you a digital application, app to your phone or to your website, and people can actually input all that information at home, load a picture up, design a web page. You know, some people nowadays are a lot more technical savvy than generations before. So I had to have something for those that are like you. So we had we do sometimes cremations for people that are out of town. And so we were having a thing where we have to fax papers and scan, and some people don't have that. But I could always get a grandchild in the family. You got a cell phone? Let me see to this app, and they fill out all the apps and send it right back to us digital. But yeah, we have a digital way to do that. And so, like I said, it just makes sense to do it, guys. It's something that it's uncomfortable to us, but like I said before, it's very uncomfortable when somebody happens at you, when it's someone's passed, to try to figure all this out.
We take care of marriages, we plan for a childbirth, graduation, and we often say, why not plan for the inevitable?
It's like planning your retirement. Everyone should start early in life, saving and planning for their retirement. And this is just one more piece.
Being widowed at a very young age, I know what it's like, and I know what I went through. Financially, I was prepared, but emotionally, I wasn't.
You're planning what you're going to do, where you're going to go, what activities you're looking forward to. But you also need to plan for there's going to be an end. And you want to make that as easy for your family and your spouse as possible.
I think people just are realizing more and more the value of getting things done in advance like this, just as they do their wills, their power of attorney papers, their living wills and all this. Get everything in place, they get this in place also.
I think people prearrange or should prearrange because it makes financial sense. It makes emotional sense for your family, and it's just a good thing to do.
Do it. Just do it. Pick up the phone, call someone, go to a funeral home, talk with someone, talk to your children. And I know it's difficult. Children do not like to think about the loss of their parents, but sometimes parents have to take the lead and have that conversation. It's inevitable.
I'd like to say thank you for y'all's time. Before I'm done, I'd like to introduce Elder Rod Houston and Pastor Michelle Van. They sell insurance with me and help me in this crusade to get this information out.
I appreciate everything you said. There's something that is important. I ran into it with when my father passed away, and we were literally scattered around the world, and for reasons that are important. The church was without a pastor at that time, so the funeral director helped us select a person. Okay, fine. He began saying, well, I don't think this is appropriate. No, you don't want that song. And finally at one point I said, in my company, when I'm paying my employees, they do what I tell them.
Yes, sir.
I'm paying you. Now, unless you want to get paid by me, then you better start listening to us. Otherwise, I'm gonna hire someone else. And the funeral director was, okay. This guy wanted to take over the planning. And why, I don't know, whether he was on an ego trip or something.
You talking about the pastor that he got? The guy that was the funeral director?
Yeah, he had a list of people who would, pastors who would come in. And I don't know whether they ever used him again or not, I wouldn't.
Yeah, sometimes.
But my point is, it's your plan. And make sure that the people you hire do what you want done, or your loved one wants done, and not what some other person wants done.
It's ultimately your dollar to get down to
That was the point of making
yes, sir.
I'm paying the bill.
Like you said, it's your dollar. And so that's why I say it's tricky for us because you have, another thing is you have multiple people sometimes in the family that's saying, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. Well, I'm paying the bill, so that makes me in charge. No, you got brothers and sisters that are equal. Y'all have to come to some consensus and tell me what to do for you.
Well, that wasn't the case here.
I know.
In fact, my sister was intimidated because she knew the guy, and she was still going to be there.
Yes.
I was gonna be back in Boston.
And that's unfortunate. Sometimes, and that's probably built a relationship with your sister and him. Unfortunately, I think he may have took that relationship and said, hey, I'm trying to save her from any problems. I'm gonna handle everything. And that's why I said, there's other siblings involved.
Yeah.
Even though he knew her, it's still a consensus as to what we're gonna do. And that's where a little bit of experience comes in and taking your ego out of the equation. And
Well, I would emphasize there's a difference between giving professional advice and saying, no, this is not the song you want to have sung. Wait a minute.
I was like, what was the reason behind that? It was too long?
Well, when I pulled the trigger on him, it was the song my sister wanted, and he said no. And that's when I drew the line.
Yes, sir. You had every right to in that instance. I mean, and I feel sorry for you because any person should know that what is different than the song make? Like, that was really petty. I'm sorry I said it. I hope I don't know that person.
You might also just consider that that's the reason we put so much emphasis on pre-planning.
Yeah.
Because when you go in that meeting, everybody's got an idea. Sometimes people sit down at the table and everybody wants to have a part to say, but nobody has any money.
Right.
And you come down and pay for it. That's why pre-arranging is so important. That's why we never get to the gift. When it's already done, you just go in and say, this is what we're gonna have. It's a done deal. And the funeral director has to follow the directions of that family. So that's why we put so much emphasis on pre-planning.
And the thing I didn't go into this is another side. It's the initial part of getting the conversations out and planning. Then it's the financial side of it. And through the insurance, you can save yourself some money and also have an insurance is through a payment. So as long as you're making your payments, if something were to happen to you, it would pay the face of that policy, which would cover your funeral services. That part I didn't want to get into today because I just want to get people talking first. Lastly, what I'm going to ask you to do on that back of that discussion guide, there was an evaluation on the back. Give me a quick evaluation real fast, and if you would like further information or for us to go further in depth with you about the financial side of it and how the insurance works to actually cover the burials and what would be best for you, you can fill that out at the bottom and we'll give you a contact later. But sometimes it can be a little overload when you start dealing with this. And so I felt it's better just get us talking first and then you take the next step later. Okay. Anybody have any more questions?
Yeah. You have suggestions on how to start the conversation with your family?
Ooh, each family's different.
Yeah.
Each family's different. And
especially when you
know-
have younger kids,
Yes.
like my kids are younger, and so when you try to talk to them, they're like, Mom, I don't want to hear that you're going to work. Well, Mom's not going to be here forever. You know, something I could, God forbid, I could get hit by a truck tomorrow or something, but you need to know, you need to talk about it.
And sometimes what you can do is, you know those in your family that can handle it.
Right.
It may not even be your children, it may be a sister that's close to the children. You have to judge it yourself. And then also I say, write things down. Write them down, write a letter, seal it up, put it in that spot. Because once they know, and the husband or the child finds it, can then read it. Well, that's what Mom said, y'all, this is it. You know, nobody can say, well, she told me. We get a lot of that. People go, well, Mom told me she want this. Mom told me she want that. And the other thing I'm glad I'm a part of this today is because all of us have to work together. Life insurance, burial insurance, financial planners, because it all ties in. Life insurance a lot of times is sold to people as a burial insurance. And that's not the purpose of it, or else it would be burial insurance, not life insurance. It's to withstand your family after you pass. If I bring in $60,000 a year and I pass away, how is my wife going to supplement that $60,000 a year if I only have a $10,000 life insurance policy? The math does not work. And we live in that falsehood just because I have something. I was saying that, I was talking to somebody, you know, sometimes you ask your grandparent or your parent, do you have insurance? Yeah, I got insurance. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing else, because then I know, okay, well, I don't have to pay anything. Now, I don't mean that either.
Right.
Because that insurance might be $1,000 that she got back in the 60s.
And it might be expired.
And it might be expired, or she may have outlived the term of it.
Yep.
She may have outlived the policy. A lot of people think if you get a life policy, it lasts your whole life. No, some of them end out at 95.
Right.
I've got people that be 100 and they have a stack of insurances they paid on for 40 years. You can't use them.
Right.
And so that's where burial insurance comes in, is because if you have a policy or a product that's specifically for your burial, that handles that. Your life is to be left to your family, your kids. And the other thing is that this, and I'll be done. Most life insurances are even value. So if it's $50,000, it's going to be $50,000. Not too many of us are blessed to have whole life where it accrues value. So
Still the same face value.
yes. So if it stays the same, and the funeral prices are going up over the years, cemeteries, rent, mortgages, gas, everything that's involved in life goes up. You're eating that up the further you get. Okay? And so if you handle some of these expenses ahead of time, the burial you can almost turn into investment. Okay? Because once you're done paying for it, that money sits there and grows for you. You lock in your price, and I give families money back a lot of time, as opposed to taking finances from them.
So will you offer burial insurance information if we complete this?
Yeah, then what I want to do is then sit down and probably do some level of personal.
And I
Because
like,
everything is not something I can do a general price to or anything.
Okay.
It's dependent, like on insurance, your age, what you exactly want, how much you want to be insured for.
and I like the group to know that, look at number one, your scale 1 to 5, 1 is the highest. We're used to 5 being the highest on ratings, so.
If I'd have got out of 5s, I would know everybody flipped it wrong.
Flip it wrong, right?
I would have got feelings hurt.
Right.
I was like, oh, but I thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. So as a group, you have general questions, concerns, comments for any of the people who introduced themselves? You have anything you want to add after you've heard some stuff?
Well, not Torrance.
I need everybody to come on up front that want to add any more.
Just very briefly and quickly, just to add to what Torrance said, I was quickly.
No.
So, like what Torrance said, basically, please do a life needs analysis for life insurance. Like he said, we talk to people will kind of flip it. Like I talked to a father last week, 4 kids. I said, you got good life insurance. Yeah, I have $250,000. I'm good. You have 4 children.
Right.
Do they want to go to college? Do you want your wife to keep the house? So these are all the things. If you don't own your home, include that into the cost of your life insurance. Unless you don't want her to have him or her. I always say her because we generally go first. But that's the way you want to have to approach that. So please do a life needs analysis. I can definitely give you guys each one of my cards. I can email you. It's a tool that you use. You basically put in all your expenses, then it gives you a number. And now the number, it'll be definitely higher than what you currently have right now. When I got into this business, I used to be kind of boastful and tell everybody, oh, I'm good, I got my family covered. And I found out very shortly that I did not. And I'll tell you guys, my very first day working with State Farm, my mother-in-law passed. My very first day. So we got real experience right there to know how life insurance works for you. So please do a life needs analysis. Just make sure you have everything covered.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, and I appreciate all of it. Back to your resource guide from ARP, and some of the legal documents that you need, and I was listening to both of the speakers. I thought, well, maybe I could just tell you to make sure that your accounts, your financial accounts are all set up correctly, and that your insurance policies have all your beneficiaries correctly. Even if you have joint accounts, husband and wife, you might want to put that whoever it is going to be your executive of your estate as a joint account holder, different than being a transfer upon death, because you don't have access to those assets until we've gone through and filed for the death certificate and all that. And so, you know, if they're going to be using your assets to help finalize your needs, they'll need to have access to those accounts. Of course, you want to be careful about who you give joint account access to. But if you know your own situation, so I would tell you to check, make sure that your beneficiaries are all up to date and current. I would tell you to, in addition to if you have brokerage account or investments account, IRAs, 401ks, that's a beneficiary situation. But if you have brokerage accounts, then that's a transfer upon death situation. And like I said, you need to have access, they may need to have access to that. And so you might want to share that account in a joint situation with the younger sibling. Whoever it is going to be the executive member. Let's see. I did want to say just a little bit about long-term care insurance, because in my experience, I've been a financial advisor for 9 years now. In my experience, that long-term care is a concept that many of us in our cultural environment don't talk about very often. And when I first joined the industry, one of my colleagues said to me, Tracy, why aren't you selling long-term care insurance? I said to him, because Black people don't put their loved ones in nursing homes. He said, that's exactly why you need long-term care insurance. And I was like, what? So I didn't understand it. I learned all about it because long-term care insurance, and you may know this, but I preach this a lot in situations like this, because if you never ever want to go to a nursing home, if you want to be able to call your shots, the way your final needs are and the way you age in place, that's what long-term care insurance is for. To ensure that your needs, your desires are the way you want them to be. But if you are going to be left to the needs or the financial resources of your network, you may end up being somewhere where you don't want to be. And so we're talking about the final needs. You know, I would love to encourage you to have these conversations about long-term care. And there are many, many ways to accomplish that. The industry has changed. You know, there used to be some players in the space that have, the cost of insurance, and also there are different ways to accomplish or fix that problem, we call it. So there are different ways to fix that problem, satisfy that need. It doesn't have to be a traditional long-term care policy, but I would encourage you to have those type of conversations because long-term care, final needs, aging in place is one of those areas when we're doing financial planning that we inflate almost 12% annually. And so, inflation is 2.5% to 3%. So that's the way we work when we're doing your financial plans. But when we put that long-term care, that final health care cost into a plan, it's not the typical 2.5% to 3% inflation. We inflate the healthcare cost to 10, almost 12% a year in a long-term care policy. I mean, in a financial plan policy. I've had friends that are in my industry, and of course, my parents have it, I have it. the best time to get it is when you're young, but like I said, there are other ways to get it. But a friend of mine, colleague of mine, her father moved to Arkansas. I tell the story all the time. Her family, her father moved to Arkansas because it was less expensive to live in Arkansas to age in place. And by the time he departed, her long-term care bill was $2,045 a week. And that was 3 years ago. So that's a cost that we are, in my industry, constantly paying attention to be able to, to include that into the final cost. I'm fortunate with the people I sit down with, have the means, and we can have these kinds of conversations, but everybody doesn't get that chance. So I would encourage you to have these kinds of conversations.
Well, and along with what you were saying, my sister had retired from teaching for 30 years, and both of our parents got sick, and she ended up having to go back to work to be able to take care of them because they didn't put something in place.
So have those conversations, and Andy says, how do you have the conversation? I just say, how do you want it to happen? And then let them talk. When I'm talking to my clients, and like I say, I'm fortunate that the people I'm talking to have the means, but even still, I have to tell them to tell your children why we're making these decisions. And so we're always encouraged to have the second and third generation at the table. So you know why I have your mother in this kind of position or this holding or this investment. So, you don't come back and try to sue me and say because I want you at the table and we all understand why we have this allocation. But I believe that it is so helpful and it is it's healthy to have those type of conversations, critical conversations we call it in my industry. But when it's like exhaling. After you have it, you feel so much better.
Thank you guys for coming out. That's a pleasure.
Excuse me, on behalf of the Wichita Lummi Chapter of Delta City Medical Corporation, I just want to thank you all for coming out. Thank you, AARP. Thank you, State Farm. Thank you, Jackson Mortuary, to Tracy Adams, for making this, for actually bringing this together. This is something that is so needed in this community, and we just appreciate you all. We appreciate AARP and your partnership, because I think that all the information that you all shared, is just so needed in our community. So thank you all once again for coming out, and we hope that you contact one of them so that if you don't have your stuff together, hopefully you can contact one of them and get yourself your things in order, your business in order. Okay. Thank you once again. Have a good evening.
Also, there's
Please She is 24. My son is 31.